Alright lads, welcome back to another Premier League predictions. And let's just say, I did not enjoy those midweek fixtures. I'll be real. We're just going to jump into it. We're going to start with the Saturday fixtures and Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. Crystal Palace host a surgingly full side at Selhurst Park. Now Palace, they've not been having a great time with things recently, with only a win and a draw from their past 5. They're currently the second lowest scoring team, and that's in a league with Burnley and Luton and Sheffield United. So I don't know how they've managed that. They've only scored 14 goals this season, and their results have suffered as a result of that. Liverpool are mounting a title charge as they find themselves in second with 34 points, just 2 points behind league leaders Arsenal, with both teams winning in midweek. Liverpool have drawn 3 and won 2 over the last 5, which is quite an impressive run, but they didn't beat the Blades to the degree that they probably should have. Hodgson's position at Palace is becoming more and more untenable as the Eagles fail to get firing and fail to pick up results, and it looks like a certain Welshman could be in the running, but you know what, we'll touch on that a bit later. I'm going to say 2-0 to Liverpool. Palace have struggled with injuries this entire season, and this week is no different. It looks like Doucouré could be out for the season, and Eze still seems to be sidelined as well. Alongside Mitchell and Holding, it's just really not looking good for the Eagles. I didn't even know Holding had joined them because I don't think I've seen that man play a single game of football for them. Has he? I really don't know. Liverpool aren't looking much better though, with Jota, Alisson and Robertson still out, as well as McAllister entering A&E as he came off against Sheffield United. Neither team will be fielding their strongest 11s, but Liverpool have much more depth and quality available to them. Kelleher didn't look too shabby in net against the Blades, but it was against the Blades, so you know, it's not really a good metric of how good of a keeper you are. Palace haven't looked great and were soundly defeated by Bournemouth in their own backyard during midweek. So I think Liverpool will take all 3 points back to Liverpool. I can't see Palace really threatening them at all, to be honest. I don't think they have the facilities, I'm not going to lie. And then we move on to Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Nottingham Forest. Oh boy. Wolves host an under fire Nottingham Forest at the Molineux in what could be Steve Cooper's last game as Forest manager, which is a very sad thought, I can't lie. Wolves currently find themselves in 13th with 18 points after a 1-0 win over Burnley, which takes their form to 2 wins from their last 5, which isn't great, but it's definitely better than their opponents. Things have not been as rosy for Forest though, with Cooper's job dangling by a thread. Very unfortunate. Forest find themselves in 16th with 13 points to their name and only 1 win in their last 5. Scratch that. 1 win in their last 10. Forest were absolutely dominated at Craven Cottage, with Fulham scoring 5 goals completely unanswered. The players did not look bothered as soon as Fulham scored their first goal, and the game was pretty much done at that point. Forest have now lost 4 matches on the bounce, and as such, Cooper's position at Forest is very much on the brink, with this Wolves match being billed as the final straw. Wolves though, they look good under O'Neill, and despite results are enjoying some good goal scoring form and generally play quite well. I'm hoping for a better performance from what I saw in the capital, but I really doubt it. I'm going to say 3-0 to Wolves. I think the home side will keep the 3 points in the West Midlands. Now, I've not said much about Wolves in this prediction, but they're just very clearly the better side here. They've scored in every one of their games bar the start of the season, and that doesn't look like stopping anytime soon, especially not against Nottingham Forest. Wolves have been leaking defence too though, as they've conceded 25 goals and never really looked like keeping a clean sheet, but Forest haven't been much better as they've conceded 27. Forest have not shown anything in their last 2 matches, and I doubt they'll show anything here either. I'd even be surprised if Forest scored, to be honest, but none of our players, even our attackers, don't really look like scoring. I guess Alanga would probably be our best bet, but even his decision making is very questionable at the moment. It should be an easy 3 points for Wolves, but all I ask is that the Forest players look like they actually want to play football and to put in a performance for Cooperman, because I don't want to see him go. I think he's a brilliant manager, but it's just not looking good for him. That's all I can say without getting very emotional. And then we move on to Brighton Hove Albion versus Burnley. The Seagulls host Burnley at the Amex after a win against their Moneyball rivals in Brentford. Brighton made a swift return to winning ways as they edged past the London outfit, And with that result, Brighton find themselves currently sitting in 8th with 25 points to their name, which is just 3 points off a European spot. Burnley grabbed a huge win last weekend, but just could not repeat the feat against Wolves as they fell in the West Midlands. It wasn't a resounding defeat as they were only beaten 1-0, so you could say that's a sign of improvements as they probably would have get peppered 4-0, if they hadn't beat Sheffield United 5-0 earlier in the week, or the weekend I guess. But either way, they're no longer bottom of the league and will desperately be looking to move further out of the relegation zone. However, against Brighton, that is a very tall order. The Seagulls are never a side you want to face when you desperately need points, and especially as they look to be getting over their previous slump in form. That makes it especially inconvenient for Burnley. I can't see this being a match that they win, to be honest. I'm going to say 2-1 to Brighton. I see Brighton claiming another win at the Amex. The Seagulls haven't looked great in defence, and despite their win over the Bees, they still have to come from behind to claim those 3 points. And you know what? I can see that happening here as well. Burnley do have some attacking talent, but that has recently taken a hit as Koleosho is set to miss out for a large chunk of the season. Both teams do have their fair share of injuries. In Brighton's case, that hasn't affected them too badly. Their results have still been pretty decent for the players they've lost and the players they've got. In Burnley's corner, I really do think the absence of Koleosho is going to cost them. He's been one of their best players when he has been playing, and was definitely a very good player for making things move forward for Burnley, a good creative outlet if you will. So yeah, they're going to miss him. It's definitely going to blunt their attacking force, which wasn't sharp to begin with, let's be real. I think Brighton should keep the 3 points on the coast. And then we move on to Sheffield United versus Brentford. Chris Wilder was actually in the technical area for their clash against Liverpool. I will be hoping he can start putting points on the board rather quickly before Sheffield United sink any further into the relegation zone. I mean, they're already bottom, so they can't really go much further, but you get what I'm saying. It's a strange appointment, I will be honest. Wilder was sacked for not doing a good enough job last time he was at the Blades, and hasn't exactly covered himself in glory since then. I don't think he's done anything of note really, just taken the teams he was managing lower in the table. So yeah, I don't know why they brought him back, but I guess he's probably one of the only people up for the job, I guess. To his credit though, he will make the Blades a harder outfit to break down, so we probably won't see them get slapped 8-0 for the rest of the season. Although, it's Sheffield United, so anything's possible. Brentford had come off the back of a loss during midweek, and this leaves the London club with 2 wins in their past 5, which is not the form you'd expect from a team that normally plays as well as Brentford do. They will be looking to make a swift return to winning ways, and Sheffield United looked like a good opportunity to do that. Will we see a Chris Wilder new manager bounce? I doubt it. No, we're not getting that. I'm going to say 1-0 to Brentford. I see Brentford grabbing the 3 points in Yorkshire. As I mentioned, I think Wilder will make the Blades a harder outfit to break down, and I can see Brentford finding it difficult to do that. However, that's mostly down to injuries more than quality. Mbeumo went off injured in their clash against Brighton, which has severely hampered the Bees' attacking threat, with the 24-year-old being Brentford's top scorer so far this season, and that is by some margin as well. I do think that despite his absence though, I can see Brentford causing Sheffield United a lot of issues at the back, and coming back to London with those 3 points. The Blades didn't show much in the way of attacking threat against Liverpool, not that anyone really expected them to, and I doubt they will here either. Brentford are a tough side to break down, and I just simply don't think Sheffield United have the facilities to break down Brentford. Even without Mbeumo, they're a strong side, and they should come away with all 3 points. And then we move over to Manchester United versus Bournemouth. Manchester United host Bournemouth at Old Trafford as they look to keep their good run of form going. Now, United are a strange club. I don't think that needs to be said really. Ten Hag's position seems to be under constant threat, and yet the Red Devils are enjoying a good run of form at the moment, winning 4 of their last 5 matches. Now, there are reports that there is some division in the dressing room, but you wouldn't know it from how they've been playing. Bournemouth are also doing fairly well for themselves, currently sitting in 15th with 3 wins and a draw from their last 5. And to be honest, if anything, they've actually been quite impressive recently, as they really seem to have finally clicked under Iraola, and the results are a good indication of that. The Cherries have grabbed some big results against the likes of Newcastle and Aston Villa, which is very impressive, as those are 2 very solid teams who are enjoying some good seasons themselves. Unfortunately for Bournemouth though, I think United may just be a bridge too far. I'm going to say 2-1 to United. As I mentioned, Man United have been playing really well this season and are enjoying a good run of form at the moment, but their front line does not seem to be firing. In fact, Scott McTominay is their top scorer this season, and he's playing very well because of it, and this man does not start every game. Normally he comes on a sub, and he's been their saviour multiple times. Like, what is the Scotsman cooking? Both teams have actually scored the same amount of goals this season, both hitting 18, but United boast a much better defensive record as they've only conceded 18 to Bournemouth's 30. I can see Bournemouth grabbing a goal. Solanke's been in some good form this season and is their top scorer for a reason. Both teams are also suffering from their fair share of injuries too, but they all seem to be players who were already sidelined rather than any new additions, so it's not really the end of the world. I think Bournemouth will give United a good game in Manchester, but I do see the home side winning this one. And then we move on to Aston Villa versus Arsenal. It's a massive top 4 clash as third placed Villa host top of the league Arsenal at Villa Park. And real quick, I just want to say Villa are in third. What? This is a huge match. Aston Villa have been brilliant this season, there's no denying that, and aside from a few blips here and there, have played some lovely attacking football and are mounting a title charge. You know, I'm not sure they're gunning for the title, but they're challenging for it at the very least. And that is why they're competing in Europe too, man. They are doing very, very well. Emery has gotten the villains cooking. Arsenal have not been having a bad season either though. They currently find themselves at the top of the league, 2 points clear and just loving life really. The Gunners will be without Arteta on the touchline as he did receive a suspension after receiving his 3rd yellow card at Kenilworth Road. The refs will be like, thank the Lord he's not here. Arsenal have been in some slightly better form than their opponents, winning 4 of their last 5, whereas Villa have won 3 and drew 1 of their last 5. Not much really separates either side as they both look to play good football, but after dispatching one Spanish manager, Emery will be confident he can do it again. And it's Pep's protege as well, so really just kill off the bloodline, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to say a 1-1 draw in Birmingham. Aston Villa have had an amazing run of form at home, winning 14 games, with the latest being that scalping of Manchester City. Arsenal played out a 7-goal threat against Luton in Bedfordshire, with Luton taking them all the way in what was a very thrilling match. Both sides do have a lot of quality between them and have been playing some very good, very attractive looking football, with both teams actually quite similar at the moment, to be honest. Arsenal haven't been brilliant in defence, but do have a lot of quality in attack, so it should make for a very entertaining clash between the two. I do see the points being shared, but either side could definitely nick it. My money would be on Aston Villa if there were a side to win this, just because they perform so well at home. And Arsenal, they're Arsenal, you know, they're not invincible, they're not unbeatable. So if any team were to nick it, my bet would be on Villa, but I do think either side will draw, to be honest. It's just too much of a high stakes match to really be high scoring, if you know what I'm saying. Like, they're both in the top 4. You know, Arsenal will want to win the title that they bottled last season. Villa probably just happy to be there, to be honest, but if they're going to challenge for the title, they will. So yeah, it's going to be a big match, a lot of things riding on it. So yeah, I just think a 1-1 draw's the most likely result, to be honest. So we're going to move on to the Sunday fixtures and a prediction that I think a lot of people could have an issue with, as we take a look at Luton Town versus Manchester City. Now this is polar opposites, as Luton Town hosts Manchester City at Kenilworth Road in what has potential to be a very interesting clash. Now Luton Town kept themselves competitive against Arsenal and kept coming from behind to hold them to a draw until the last minute Rice goal. I think Luton actually opened the scoring in that match as well, which is insane, but you get what I'm saying. You know, they went ahead, Arsenal equalised, Arsenal went ahead, Luton equalised, Arsenal went ahead, Luton equalised, Arsenal then won the match. You know how it goes. Manchester City fell to Aston Villa in Birmingham as their slumping form continues. City have failed to win in 4 Premier League matches, 3 of those being a draw, so it's not terrible form. But, you know, Manchester City not winning in 4 is pretty much like them losing all 4 matches. Luton Town have been the best performing of the newly promoted teams, but they still find themselves in the relegation zone as they sit in 18th on 9 points. Luton's form hasn't been brilliant, only grabbing 1 win in the past 5, but that match against Arsenal was just special. This could be a golden goose for Luton as they're hosting a City side which are just going through the middle of a wobble right now. Their form is not great. Pep Guardiola is probably depressed, and yeah, they're City not looking good, man. Now, whenever City go through a bad run of form, that normally ends with some poor team getting absolutely slapped up, but I can't see that being Luton. Now, you're going to call me crazy for my prediction here, but I'm going to say 2-2. Yes, call me crazy, call me insane, call me a Nottingham Forest fan, but I can see Luton Town sharing the points in Bedfordshire. This is probably the best time for them to face the treble winners. You know, they lost. Luton Town put an absolute shift against Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Luton cooking. The Kenny is a massive factor for Luton, and it played a huge part in the aforementioned match against Arsenal, and I'm sure it'll do the same here as well. Now, there is some good news for City fans, as Rodri and Grealish are set to return to the 11, and whenever Rodri is out, you know, City almost seem lost without him, so him being back is a huge boon for them. Look at it this way, right? Manchester City won the treble last season. Luton Town are sitting in 18th. Manchester City are in some bad form at the moment. Luton Town playing at home. You see what I'm saying? Now, I know it's insane to bet against the reigning champions, but something is just telling me that Luton will grab a mental draw, and the scenes at Kenilworth Road will be insane. Something's just telling me, man, you know, source, I made it up, bro, but I think Luton could grab a draw. Anyway, we're going to move on to Fulham versus West Ham United. It's a West versus East London derby as Fulham host West Ham at Craven Cottage. Fulham are coming off the back of a huge domination of Nottingham Forest. I don't really want to talk about it, but Fulham scored 5 unanswered at the Cottage as it saw them move into 12th with 18 points to their name, winning 2 of their last 5. So that's not exactly brilliant form, but hey, they're getting points on the board. West Ham are also coming off the back of a win as they came from behind to beat Spurs in their own backyard. The Hammers find themselves sitting in 9th on 24 points with 3 wins and a draw from the past 5, so they're currently enjoying much better form than the Cottagers are. Bowen is currently West Ham's top goal scorer, and he's been in some great form recently. He doesn't play as a striker, but he's been thrown into this makeshift centre forward role ever since Antonio was injured, and he's been performing. I mean, even before that he was performing, but he's cooking now as well. So if you're ever looking for someone on West Ham to score a goal, it's going to be Jared Bowen. Like, he's just always seems to be there, always shipping him the goal. And because of that, West Ham have scored 26 goals this season. Fulham have not scored as many goals though, currently scoring 21 so far, but have also conceded 1 more than their opponent as well. I'm going to say a 2-1 win for West Ham. I think West Ham will take all 3 points in this East vs West London derby. In their past 3 games, Fulham have scored 11 goals, so I think Fulham fans might be expecting another goal fest, but unfortunately for them, I can't see that happening here. I mean, 11 goals in 3 games is absolutely mental, but one day it's going to end, and I think this is a clash where we'll see that be put to an end. Like, West Ham have been in some brilliant form, and even without a striker, they can still score goals, and I suspect they will cause Fulham a lot of problems at the back. I do see West Ham conceding 2 though. Fulham boast a strong attack, and with the Hammers' first choice keeper Areola set to mess out, I think they'll let a goal in. But I do see West Ham getting this one in the bag, taking 3 points back to their side in London. I just don't think Fulham have what it takes to beat West Ham, you know. Now, it is at the Cottage, to be fair, so they're always going to have that home side advantage. I just think West Ham are too good for Fulham. And then we move on to Everton versus Chelsea. Everton have been in some brilliant form recently and have made light work of the points they saw deducted from them. You know, the Toffees have been impressive ever since that points deduction, and it almost looks like it's galvanised the squad, you know, really brought them together. And performances have looked good ever since they were deducted points. So, you know, fair play. They've won 3 and drawn 1 of their last 5, and it has seen them leap out of the relegation zone in some style. There's only 3 points separating them and my beloved Forest. So, yeah, they've made light work of that points deduction. Let's be real. Chelsea, on the other hand, have not been experiencing as good form, but do find themselves in 10th with 19 points to their name. You know, they've won 2 and drawn 1 of their last 3 matches. They've won 2 and drawn 1 of their last 5 matches, but never really seemed like the dominant side. After an emphatic 3-0 win over Newcastle, Everton should be in high confidence, but to rub further salt in the wound, if that points deduction had not happened, Everton would be a point ahead of Chelsea. So do with that what you will, Everton fans. Yeah, I'm going to say 2-1 to Everton. I think Everton are winning this clash. You know, they're coming to some really good form at the moment, and we're looking to make Goodison a fortress while they still play there. They're going to make it a tough place to come. I mean, it already is, and they're going to just double down on that. Both teams have been very inconsistent this season, with both sides having very unusual seasons as well, if that makes any sense. Chelsea have been inundated with injuries this season, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel, as the injured trio of Madueke, Lavia and Nkunku could make the squad in Merseyside. Doesn't look like they'll start, but they could be on the bench, so they'll be there to watch Chelsea lose. How nice. Pochettino's job isn't under fire yet, but there are murmurs that if he doesn't pick up results soon, then he could be off. I remember saying there was a Pochettino renaissance happening at Chelsea, but that quickly fizzled out. So, I'm sorry for jinxing you Chelsea fans, but the game's the game. Everton haven't really had many injuries, with Onana, Gomez and Ali still sidelined. I think Everton will make Goodison a really tough place to go, and I can see them grabbing another 3 points to really put that points deduction behind them. Chelsea have had accusations thrown at them, so this could be the points deduction derby, much to think about. And to top off this game week, we have Tottenham Hotspur versus Newcastle United. Yes, we end the game week with a top half clash as Tottenham Hotspur host Newcastle United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Spurs haven't managed to regain the top spot and currently falls on the 5th. So, still occupying a European spot. They currently have 27 points to their name after only drawing 1 of their last 5. No, that's 0 wins, so it's really not great. I don't know how they're in 5th with that form. Newcastle haven't been having a great time with it either. They currently found themselves in 7th place with 26 points, with the Geordies having won 3 of their last 5, which is a lot better form than their opponents are experiencing. Only a point separates the two sides. Both are coming off the back of a pretty hard to take loss as well. Like Newcastle were put to the sword by Everton at Goodison, while Spurs threw away another lead as they fell to West Ham. Both teams have been swamped by injuries and some not so good form either. You know what, I'm going to say a 2-1 win for Spurs. I can see Spurs finally holding on to a lead in North London. Both Tottenham and Newcastle have a lot of attacking talent at their disposal, even with all the injuries that they're both facing. So I'm sure we'll see goals, but with the way Newcastle completely bottled it to Everton, I just can't see them holding off Spurs, to be honest. Newcastle could make an 11 of injured or suspended players, with Spurs not being far behind either, so we're definitely not seeing the strongest 11s if you haven't noticed already. But I do think the talent Spurs have available just edges Newcastle, and I reckon they'll keep the 3 points in London. It's mainly that attacking core that Tottenham have. It looks a lot stronger than what Newcastle have to work with, so I just think they've got more in them to score goals. I think both teams' defences aren't great, so we're definitely going to see each team conceding. I just think Tottenham edge it with the quality they've got. I think the trick is if they have to come from behind, then maybe that's where they get the 3 points from, because I think they've went ahead in like the past 4 matches and lost each of them, or just not won each of them, which is not a stat you really want to have. So maybe they should try coming from behind. But yes, those have been my Game Week 16 Premier League predictions. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have any of your own, please leave them in the comments down below. But I've been O2GT. Hope you have a brilliant day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.